All right, so we're gonna have another low effort content. We're gonna do some videos on this woman. Her name is Amala, and she works for PragerU, and she has lots of content out that's super conservative. And I thought, hey, I haven't put a video out in a while. Let's do one about this, and maybe I'll do a longer video about just Black conservatism as a whole. But don't look at the timestamps. Don't worry about the length of the video. It's not too long. It's not too long. And you don't have to watch it, all the way through at one time. You guys can just space it out. You can listen to a book, read a book, clean. Your house is probably dirty, right? Clean your rooms, and just leave this video in the background. I'm sorry, I'm talking kind of weird. I might look shiny. I've been drinking. Pre-workout, I have to go work out, and this isn't sponsored, but this is a C4 frozen bombsicle, and
I can feel my veins. And my skin feels very hot, so I might die during this.
And if I do, then definitely share this video, because that would be virality. I don't know what I'm saying anymore, and I have not cut for an edit. Should I do like a title slide, or should I do like waves? I don't know. I would do more of like a subtle transition.
Plus community, the Biden-Harris administration has your back.
These are our kids. These are our neighbors. Not somebody else's kids, they're all our kids.
Huh? Not somebody else's kids? That is scary that he thinks that the government has some sort of right over your own children. People say, it takes a village. That doesn't mean that the village involves the US government. This broader message is that the administration has a right to inject itself into your parental-child dynamic so they can further their own agenda. There's a reason that our founding fathers advocated for limited government. If this is not government overreach, I don't know what is. And then they look at you and call you a conspiracy theorist when you say they're coming after children, putting children on the front lines of these ideological and political debates. They tell you you're crazy. They tell you you're the one with the tinfoil hat on, as they're actively saying that your kids are not yours, they're ours.
Okay, Amala, but you put your tinfoil hat, or maybe tinfoil satin wrap on, because yeah, that sounds insane. Because anyone who actually listened to that understood that he meant that those are everyone's kids in terms of they all belong to be protected, right? They all deserve protection. This isn't the government saying they're going to take your kids, right? And you want to talk about government overreach? You know what would be a government overreach? Passing laws that if your child expresses themselves in a way that the state does not deem to be appropriate, they will then take your children away from you. That seems like a government overreaching its bounds, does it not? But okay, you said that you are totally for government non-interference, which would then imply you want the parents to be able to decide, right? Like the parents should be able to decide what happens to their children, since the government can't. I think we agree on that, don't we?
People like Megan Fox and the Gabrielle Unions and the people who have these kids that they are forcing onto the front lines of these gender debates, what they're doing is projecting their utopian views about the way the world should be, projecting their view of what the biggest problems are in the world onto their children, and making their children advocates by proxy by having them and by doing this to them. It disgusts me. If you naturally, independently have a child that is struggling with gender dysphoria or their sexuality and wants to transition or come out to you, totally fine, occurs naturally. However, if you are a parent who goes, you know what, I have an issue with the stuff that's happening around gender and I want to be an activist, and you force your child into that activism, you have a problem. It's not okay when it happens on the right. It's not okay when it happens on the left. And to watch children be at the forefront of every single political discussion that we're having right now blows my mind.
Okay, so maybe we're not on the same page here. So for starters, weird, right? Weird for you to phrase it like these parents are putting their kids in front of this gender war as if there's an actual battle happening from both sides, and not just one side having an issue with the other side, right? Like these kids weren't convinced to sign up for the trans army and take up arms. They were those things. And as far as Megan Fox kids go, I am not sure if they consider themselves to be trans or not, but they're just wearing clothes. They just have long hair. You seem to have a real issue with Megan Fox, which we'll get to in a second. But you're talking about Gabrielle Union as if Zaya Wade was held at gunpoint and told that if you do not join the trans army, you will be eliminated. Quite the contrary. Zaya wanted this, and them being good, understanding parents are supporting their child. So I'm just confused as to what is the actual issue here. Because you're saying if it happens naturally, it did. Like, unless I'm unaware of some sort of tactic people are using to turn people trans, feels like that's kind of a thing that happens naturally within people. And then they tell people, and then, you know, we treat them a certain way. And that's where we are right now. But I'm really lost on why that is an issue for you. But I think this next clip might shed some light.
Oh, the reality is that Megan Fox happened to have 3 boys who just are interested in girls' clothes. Because if that is not the reality, what you have is a woman who is using her children like accessories. She's using her children like pets and going, you know what would be really great for me personally and publicity-wise? It would be to have 3 kids that are on the front line of a highly controversial political debate. So I'm going to have my boys have long hair. I'm going to have them dress like girls, and I'm going to speak out publicly about their gender identity.
And someone in the chat alluded to something else that Megan Fox said that I think is important. She said, when I became pregnant with Noah, I could feel through my mother's intuition, I suppose, that he was not subscribing to gender stereotypes. So I decided to provide an environment for him early on that would allow him to discover how he wanted to express himself, she has said. So there you go.
Oh my God, Megan Fox, how dare she provide an environment for their child to grow and learn and understand who they are? How dare she? What is this obsession you have with Megan Fox and her children? You keep saying that she's putting them on the front lines. Again, there are no front lines. This is something you conservatives are doing. Conservatives are making this a big issue. Conservatives are the ones who are going down to schools, who are getting into online, showing themselves at Target, destroying shit, showing themselves shooting cans of Bud Light. Like, they're the ones doing all of this. So for you to say they're on the front lines of this political debate, it's not true. They're not putting kids on the front line. But if we were to give you, leniency, it's only because your side, which you are very clearly conservative, are doing that. You guys are doing that. You are the ones who are drawing these lines for some reason. And you're like, oh, I hope she has, I hope the kid would just like to, wear a woman's clothing. But you have a problem with that too. Let's not pretend here. You obviously have a problem with transgender people. Like you simply do. A lot of your content, especially because, you work with PragerU, especially now because it's June, is centered around being anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ. So for you to try to pretend that first and foremost, you in some way, shape, or form be okay with them not subscribing to gender roles is laughable. Secondly, you just said in previous videos that you didn't want government overreach, which would imply you want parents to be able to, dictate habits to their children. But now parents can't dictate habits to their children because now they're putting them on these ideological battle lines and not just them allowing them to be kids. Isn't that what you guys were talking about? Just let kids be kids. Don't put so much stuff on them. So she's letting her kids be kids, and her kids want to fucking wear fucking dresses or have long hair. Let them do that, right? Like, what is it that you want? Because it seems to me that you just want kids to act a way that you deem to be acceptable, that you would feel comfortable with. But you're not really thinking about the children and how they would feel and like their levels of comfort, which again, wouldn't be surprising considering you are a conservative and you do work with PragerU. So.
And proud CMU alum. And while I am certain that the current governor of my home state of Florida will be—
We're actually both from the same small town, which is so crazy to me. To now hear her come up here and call Governor Ron DeSantis current grand wizard, it's just wild to me to hear these leaps that people jump to in order to characterize a side that they disagree with. And I just want to hear her substantiate what she's saying. What would make you characterize him as as being a grand wizard. What great racist or bigoted act has Ron DeSantis personally carried out? I say this all the time, but the words just lose meaning. They really do when you throw them out like that. And then of course the whole crowd just goes into applause because musical theater has been ruined by leftism.
Growing up, I was called the F word more times than I can remember, and
He says this F word just won a Tony. You can allow your oppression to be a focal point in your life, so much so that it starts to overtake moments where you should be at peak joy. Like, this should be his moment to be like, I created a piece of art that hundreds of thousands of people have seen, and they loved it so much that I'm getting an award for it. And instead it's like, I was bullied and called the F word, and now this F word won a Tony. To me, it just like ruins the actual achievement, because now you're using this external villain to drive your creativity rather than saying, I got this on my own accord and I don't have to let those bad experiences taint my vision that I have for myself. I get it to be like, F you, you thought I sucked and other people don't think I sucked, but it just really takes away from that moment to just like define yourself by the actions of other people.
Wow. Okay. So do you think this is the first person who's ever won an award who has ever said something along the lines of, hey, people used to make fun of me or doubted me, but I believed in myself and now here I am? Like, your issue here is the fact that he was saying that he was called the F word, and now he's saying, well, this F word won it. And you said that that takes away from the moment because he's not experiencing peak joy. He's literally talking to a group of people about the award he just won for the thing that he created. Why does he have to say, oh my God, thousands of people? So he knows this. And also, it's his moment. Why do you feel the need to try to change his moment? You're the one saying it's taking away from it. You're the only person obsessed over that. It is the Tony Awards, for crying out loud. Which you probably, I don't know, did you even watch it? But it's the Tony Awards. Like, gay people are going to be getting awards for Tonys. And they're going to use that as a, platform to talk about issues important to them, including their own backgrounds and upbringing, which most likely motivated them to get to the point where they are right now. Like, it's weird for you to say you can focus on your oppression where it takes away your moment. He's not focusing on his oppression. If he was focusing on his oppression, he wouldn't be on that stage, would he? Like, I don't think I can do another video. I don't think I can do another video. This is insanity. This is actual insanity. Your content is just, these people are bad and wrong because they don't act in a way that I think is acceptable. That's it. And you're like super fucking transphobic. Like, that's just apparent. You don't like gay people, you don't like trans people, you're anti-LGBT, and you want to pretend that you're not, but it's very obvious that you are. And I don't understand the obsession. I really don't. Most of your stuff was just related to either, oh, my bad. Also anti-black. We have to mention that. We got it, right? Black conservatives. All of your content, though, just is revolved around things you say don't matter. You are against people labeling stuff with identity politics. And yet, all of your content is in some way, shape, or form related to that. Why don't you just talk about, like, political things like that away from identity? Why don't you just talk about, laws? Why don't you talk about economy? Something like that. It's weird to me that you seem to be so against these labels, and yet most of your content is fully predicated on those things. You constantly talk about it. There's even another video of yours where you're talking about how black people shouldn't look at their race, and the best thing to do for black Americans is to not look at their race, and this and that. And yet you consistently do that. You consistently look at people's races who aren't white. 'Cause let's be real, you don't really have to look for white people. and you consistently try to find ways to break them down. You don't, I should say never, right? Because that's too absolute. I'm not a Sith. But I have rarely seen you use your platform to uplift black people. In fact, I have seen more of your content attacking black people, whether they're black gays or just like our black cis people, or attacking LGBTQ communities. I have never seen you uplifting any of those communities at all. Only time I've seen that even close is when you're talking about that woman who transitioned to a man and saying how lonely that they feel. But even then, you weren't like offering sympathy for trans people. You weren't trying to analyze that, oh, maybe the way that we treat men in this society is bad. It was just like, see, don't transition. Like it's so fucking weird, man. It's so fucking weird. And let's not get it twisted. You are super fucking obsessed with the LGBTQ community, like to an insane degree. Matter of fact, let's watch one of your videos on that.
Between that and other problems as well, which we will get to. Let's talk about bisexuality. This is super trendy now. I'm sorry.
Super trendy.
Maybe actual bisexuals who might be listening to this show, but your sexuality is super trendy right now. For example,
trendy
bisexuals
sexualities
are close to half of the LGBT total and predominantly female. But the GSS shows that the share of bisexual women with exclusively male partners in the previous 5 years increased from 13% from 2008 to 2010 to 55% in 2018 to 2021. What does that signal to you? It signals to me that in 2008, you had women identifying, the vast majority being women identifying as bisexual, and 87% of those women actually were bisexual, or at least experimented and dated women and dated men and went back and forth with all that. Now you have a growing number of young females going, I'm bisexual, but still exclusively dating men, which really at that point, it doesn't matter. It's just a label. But if you're sowing the seeds of confusion around sexuality to young people, look what happens. They take it on as a trend. And it's like this amazing thing to be. Honesty. In high school, I was totally in the throes of just like going to pride parades and learning about LGBTQ plus people and having all these conversations about how all sexuality is a spectrum and truly everybody's bisexual and everybody has attraction. And I was like 15 and going, oh my gosh, I'm bisexual. I'm a bisexual female. So much so that I even told people like, hey, I'm a bisexual female. Like that is the reality that I have. And now in retrospect, I just look back at it and go, well, no, I was exclusively attracted to guys, had crushes on guys, have only ever dated men or been interested in dating men. But it was so trendy and so cool to go, guys, I'm so different and I have to come out of the closet. Oh my gosh. So embarrassing. I wonder how people are going to take it. Oh, you're going to take it with love and affirmation and affection and everybody's going to cheer me on and like all my social media and everything. And then you're like, I'm bisexual, guys. I got to come out of the closet. That's exactly what is happening here.
No, it is. No, it isn't. Again, your anecdotal story, even in itself, disproves that. Because you were never bisexual then, right? Like, you learned about these people, and then you weren't that. You've never done that. You can't then say these are what these people are doing exactly. They're just saying that for likes on social media or attention. Who's liking that or liking all their posts, all that stuff, when there's literally being laws legislated against people part of that community? Like I don't understand why you think that's what's happening here. People could just be bisexual, or they could not be bisexual, but people are allowed to figure themselves out. You're trying to insinuate that, oh, these bisexuals are confusing people. They're saying that sexualities are valid and it's a spectrum. It's like, okay, and like,
and the data is showing that the women who are coming out as bisexual are, the majority of them, exclusively dating men. And I was like, let me do a little field test of this, and I just want to check something real quick. And all I did was go to TikTok and type in the word bisexual into the search.
TikTok's a huge scientific area to go to.
Just scrolled through, and I was like, I bet $1 million I'm gonna see a bunch of young white Gen Z females. And guys, look with your own eyes. What are you seeing? What are you seeing? Sprinkled in a few white boys in there, but by and large, young white Gen Z females.
Okay.
And that's just me, who's not a researcher. Just
Clearly, because you're going on TikTok and using TikTok as some sort. Okay, let's keep it. Let's go.
People are so proud to exude what is so superficial. Your sexuality is so superficial, and they are so proud to showcase it and push it out to people, which tells me that it's a trend. Now, what's interesting thing that I read here, as far.
So, is your conservatism a trend then? Are you not a conservative? Because you have a PragerU picture in your background. You have a PragerU stuff right there. You have a PragerU setting. All this is PragerU. You're just projecting it. You're putting it out there. So are you not a conservative now? Is that not any part of your identity? You don't espouse conservative viewpoints. You don't talk about conservative viewpoints all the time. It's just trendy.
As transgenderism is related, it looks like we are in a downtrend of transgenderism, at least when compared to 2020. Apparently,
I wonder why.
Peak for young people identifying as transgender.
I wonder why that could be.
Data collected on 57,000 undergraduates shows that in 50 colleges sampled both years, the non-binary share dropped from 1.5% to 0.85%, a statistically significant decline. And you can look at this here. It's seemingly dropping. I will see if that trend continues now with how
I'm sure you're super excited about that.
Trendy it is and how much fame you can garner from getting it. I would venture to say, and I'm going to dip my toe in the pool here and say it's a lot easier to identify as bisexual and take on that trend and get all the affirmation you get from that than it is to identify as trans. Because when you identify as trans, you got to start making real lifestyle changes, really presenting yourself.
Jesus Christ, is your only viewpoint that all of this is done for trends for online likes? Could it possibly be, I don't know, just dipping my toes in the pool real quick, could it possibly be that with the insane amount of anti-trans legislation out there, that maybe, just maybe, trans kids don't feel comfortable admitting that they're transgender? Could that possibly be the case? Could it be the way our society has a huge reaction to just trans people in general? Could that maybe deter why the data went down from 2020, when there weren't a lot of anti-trans legislation, to now, when there's a shit ton of anti-trans legislation going through? Like maybe that's why. Do I have to put up the graph? Do we have to use the graph here, the left-handed graph? Yes. Okay. Put up the graph.
In a different way, having constant conversations about it. It's a much larger hurdle to jump over to get affirmation and validation and fame. Not saying that that's what everybody gets from it and that's what everybody is seeking from it.
That has literally been your talking point for the past 8 minutes.
I would imagine that much less people are dipping their toe in that pool because it's a big pool. You kind of just have to dive in and start taking on a lifestyle with it.
Yeah, the bi trend, for lack of a better term, it has a lower cost to it, but you get all of the benefits.
What benefits?
And with all the Instagram likes and all that kind of stuff.
Instagram likes. People are saying they're bisexual for Instagram likes. Okay.
Going back to that TikTok scroll that you did, it was interesting because you did mention there were a handful or a swath of young white males. Kind of harkening back to yesterday's discussion, it's like, what's the easiest way to get attention, especially for those who may not be the most popular or have the most attention?
Easily, be a fucking conservative. Just say some conservative bullshit. You'll get on PragerU.
At school and in the environment. This is just low-hanging fruit, again, for lack of a better term, to gain those points. And
what
it's
points?
just so sad to see that people are willing to sacrifice just to gain that recognition.
Sacrifice what?
It's one of the easiest things that you can do. Like I said, I did it. Insane to even think about. And I didn't even think about this until I like looked at what we were going to talk about today, and I was like, that is crazy. And what it shows you, and why I like to have conversations on this show about just like trying to understand people who go through this and who do this, is that nobody is immune to it. You are literally not immune. And we can all sit on our high horse and be like, I would never be indoctrinated. I would never be that stupid. I would never do something like that. You don't know that. You don't. If you were raised
Clearly. Okay, we're done with this video because it's there's nothing of value to be said here. Clearly, though, right? You are not immune to indoctrination because you work for, first and foremost, PragerU. Secondly, all you admitted in this video is that you did this, that you found something that you might have used as a way to gain clout and used it that way. And now you're trying to say other people are doing that, which is just a roundabout way of you trying to justify your actions. But that is very telling because you're talking about how, you just did it because it's trendy. And yet now here you are as a conservative. I looked into her, and apparently she used to be a leftist, you guys, and now she's suddenly conservative. Weird, huh? Weird how she didn't get that much attention as a lefty, but now that she's a conservative, she's on PragerU. She's going to Dr. Phil. She gets all these, like a YouTuber, she's in all these places. You guys see her shorts. She has her own show on PragerU. She's all these things as a conservative, but didn't have those things as a lefty. I wonder if Lady doth protest too much. I wonder if she is doing some IMAX level projection here. But what do I know? I'm just a dirty leftist, just doing some low effort content, baby.